today we got a question here about what kind of direction should Star Wars take with their stories. Check it out.
Hey, John. With all these announcements and cancellations of Star Wars movies, do you think that Star Wars should even still be married to try and make new trilogies? Or do you think they should be more okay with allowing directors to make one-shot movies in different time periods in different parts of the galaxy and not make them have to make a long interconnected story? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for calling that in. And yeah, that's a really interesting question because I think when all of us think about Star Wars, we think in terms of sagas, right? The Skywalker saga, the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the story of Mandalorian and its shared connected stories with Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett and whatever. We think in terms, but lest we forget, they've had some really good success with kind of like one-shots as well. Rogue One, while connected to the overall Star Wars universe, of course, Rogue One was a fabulous, fabulous Star Wars movie. One shot, boom, done, loved it. Sort of done, because then they did Andor, but still. Solo, which is a movie I don't think they ever should have made, but I still thought it was a damn entertaining movie. I thought it was a really good movie, so they've had success with that. The Star Wars universe is so big and so vast that whenever we talk about it, though, we always talk about the next trilogy, the next saga. Where do they pick up the story? And honestly, I kind of see it the same way that I see it with comic book movies. You know, for a long time, all anybody wants to do is, how does that comic book movie tie in to the 15 other comic book movies? How does this comic book movie tie into 75 other movies? Everybody wants to talk about comic book movies in terms of shared cinematic universe or standalone films. And for the longest time, for years, I've been saying it's not an either or. You can do both and. The comic books themselves have done both. They don't just do connected stories and they don't just do one-shot stories. They do both. And they mix them in together and they tell, whether you call it what ifs or else worlds or whatever you want to call it. I think in the world of Star Wars, you know what's a really good example of this? What is that anthology animated series they did a while ago where you had the Samurai Jedi? Visions, right. Which I think they just dropped a trailer for the next thing at Visions, right? Mm-hmm. So like Visions was a great example of that to me, that here's some great one-shot little stories. Boom. And some of them were awful, but some of them were great.
I love them.
Some of them were really great. A couple of them were really stupid, but a couple of them were fantastic. And I think that kind of shows that that's where their balance should be. I think they should be looking at, you know, hey, maybe James Mangold's Origins of the Jedi thing, maybe that can become a new saga. Sure, that's great. But I hope they don't abandon the idea of doing just some, hey, you know what? With the world and the universe that is Star Wars, you literally can tell any kind of story you want. And it doesn't have to connect into everything else. It can just be, you can just tell the story of, you know, some, I don't know, bantha farmer on some outer rim planet that gets into trouble with his local bank trying to take his farm. Look, I'm not saying I want to see that movie, but I'm just as an example. You can tell those stories. So the answer for me is I hope, and what I think they should do is find a balance between the two. Get in some great storytellers, tell some one-shots, make sure you put in some planning, something you've not done very well in the past, put in some planning for some new sagas, and just mix it up. Treat the Star Wars universe like it's a universe, and I think you can have some success. Chris, the question's coming up. You know, where do we think their attention is going to be? What should their attention be on as Star Wars moves forward, especially coming out of Celebration? How do you see it?
I mean, it's nice to see them putting focus on putting them on screen, on a big screen, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to see them talking about movies. If they come to fruition or not, that's, you know, still to be decided. But I do like the mix of following, you know, sagas as well as one-offs, right? I loved Visions. I was so into that show. And I want nothing more than a feature-length film, contain story, be done with it, of La Pinocho. The Lepi, the rabbit
right.
Jedi. I thought that story was so cool, and I want more of that. The lone samurai kind of Jedi story that we have, or Sith rather, at the beginning of Visions. That is fantastic. All of those little capsule episodes that happen in Visions, for the most part, are really, really amazing. And I think that's the kind of thing that you should pursue is how can you play, and I always say this, how can you play within this sandbox, but make it interesting and make it your own and not connect it to the Skywalkers, right? There are so many other people in this galaxy far, far away. Why do we constantly treat it like a Charles Dickens novel where everyone is interconnected? I don't find that enjoyable all the time.
Right.
I don't need to know that somebody is your secret grandpa or you know this other person.
Secret grandpa.
I'm hiding
Secret grandpa. Like, I don't need to know that.
Blowjob Jim, you're my grandfather. Yeah.
Give me the
grandpa
whole
lives in
theories,
that
you
cabin.
cowards. But like, I think there's so much other stuff. When we have, I mean, if you look at hardcore Star Wars fans too, they know so much lore, right? They know so much about different species and like planetary habits and how worlds are built. Why are we not exploring all of that stuff as opposed to someone just getting to seem snarky, sitting next to me being like, oh, that's a such and such and their whole system of belief is this? Cool. Give me a movie on that. Allow fans to get really excited about those kinds of things where it's just kind of like little knowledge they might have from the books that, you know, may or may not be canon anymore. Let's do that. I know, reading, it's wild.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about that? How do you think their approach should be when going to Star Wars? Like focus on sagas, focus on more one-shots, a little bit of a balance. However you guys would approach it, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.